And welcome here, everyone. We're excited to be here on this lovely Friday. If you're not playing Supervive, you're here watching League, and I'm excited to do so. We are excited here on the Aegis Protectors League. Going to be casting the week #1 here on the day. My name is Orbital. With me is, of course, Jordan, and we will be your casters for this evening. This is going to be a good time, Jordan, I think.
I'm so excited to be here. I've casted the ADL in the past. I've participated in the AML, and this is my first look at the Aegis Protector League, so I'm super excited.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Of course, we are getting underway with two teams, one that you may know and then one maybe that you know as well. We got the Clown Gaming Crab Wranglers. Of course, that is a very, very fun name. Going up against Subatomic Gaming Graviton, and these two squads going to be trying to give us a what for moving into this week 1. And of course, we were taking a look. This is Emerald 3 cap, so, you know, getting up there, getting that competitive experience. And I think in around these levels, you do have pretty solid grasp of the mechanics, and then you're really fielding that teamwork, which I'm sure they have as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to practice these kind of skills. This is where you kind of get your foot in the door, and this is where a passion becomes it just grows like a weed. This is some experience that these players can really hold on to, and I can speak from personal experience that years down the line you can be like, oh my god, these lessons that I'm learning over these years are actually so valuable and so translatable beyond just League of Legends. But again, so excited. Let's get right into it.
I know, and unfortunately Aurora I don't think is available. Of course, even if Aurora was, it wouldn't be able to be played. So, you know, we'll give it a little bit of time. We are going to get into draft here with, of course, SGG on that blue side, and on the red side will be CGCW. And, you know, we're still waiting for that first ban to really come through. I think both squads, there we go. Now we're getting started here. I'm kind of excited. Of course, there are a lot of blue side bans that you do have to be worried about if you can't pick them up. You can get one, but not all of them. So kind of pick your poison.
Yeah, the meta is so diverse. One of the probably the most diverse metas we've ever been in. You can honestly play anything in what seems like all the rules. I think some things that stick off the page are some of these utility lane bully 80 carries like Ash Varus. These things are still very super high prio. And then I think I've seen a massive rise in the tank support. So that's what I see from the bot lane. But in terms of jungle and mid, there's 80 carries in the mid lane. There's Zyra in the jungle. This stuff is a madhouse. It's absolutely crazy.
I think we saw Morgana jungle as well. I've seen people play that, and it gets silly. But for right now, we are looking at more of those heavy hitters. Volibear and Caitlyn both banned away. Caitlyn, of course, rising in high prominence in the ADC role, and then Volibear, I think, is just a very good target. Can be flexed towards top and jungle. Just don't want to deal with that one. Of course, for CGC on their own side, you got to go ahead and take away that Lilia. Don't want to let it be going into the hands of some CJ Lopez, and then, of course, the heavy target towards that mid lane. I think it's very understandable. It is that denial tool against Alpha.
Yeah, so, and I was just going to ask the question, what teams still have Skarner prio even after the nerfs? And it looks like both teams do. I noticed that the Wranglers do play it. They flex it in the jungle. They put it in the top lane. And maybe we're going to see something special here from Subatomic Gaming Graviton, picking that up on the first B1. We know this champion can go basically anywhere. It's been nerfed a couple times now, but it's still an absolute menace. Like, the kit just does so much. There's so much disruption that if he's not auto winning lane with his numbers, he's still going to be a pretty good champion.
And that's why you got to go ahead, get a little bit of that CC disruption of your own. You go ahead and lock in that Sejuani. It doesn't give too much away, which I actually do prefer. However, this I'm actually worried about. You go ahead and grab the knowledge. You were talking about the tanks, but I see the double ADC ban on the other side, and this does kind of worry me a little bit, saying, hey, if SGG do decide to grab their ADC here, it does mean that you get a possible shadow ban. Granted, ADC pool has to run deep. You were mentioning it before, a lot of high priority picks. I still get worried whenever I see double ADC ban and then the other team still gets a chance to pick theirs.
Yep, we'll have to see how the draft develops, but looking up Adam on the side of the Wranglers, there's one thing he really enjoys doing in League of Legends, and that's engaging. His most played, it's all of the tanks. It's just Nautilus, yep, Leona, Rel, Rakan. Like, this guy just goes in. So they've grabbed that up early and just said, I dare you to hit me with the counter. And so far, this maybe even looks like that Ducker guy's Maokai support. He's played a lot of that in the past. He's also known for his Thresh. So looking for maybe some disruption here to slow down a little bit of what the Wranglers are putting together. Kaisa, super solid AD. Doesn't do super well into the lane bully champions, but if you can get this champion through lane, has a tremendous amount of self peel. So locking this champion down is going to be be a tough task and needs to be a very high priority for the Wranglers here as they're approaching their third pick.
I wouldn't be upset to see an Ashe. However, you do go for the more dueling potential style. The Zeri is locked in, a little bit more dash ability, maybe a little bit of dueling against the Kai'Sa as well. I will say that is also a little bit of a ballsy pick. Kai'Sa into a Sejuani Nautilus. It is a guaranteed depth charge. If you go a little bit too far, you are hoping for your team to kind of follow up, make sure that they're in the way. Now going into the second ban phase, we see the Talia banned away here. I do agree with this. You don't want to let that Zeri get locked down. However, that's also just a bully pick. Whenever you go in, you don't want to deal with the Talia.
Yeah, so now we kind of get to see what the Wranglers are going to do with their draft here. Are they going to blind pick a solid mid laner, maybe a control mage here for Outrage? He's been known to be picking up a little bit of the 80 carries mid lane, but also just a solid player in general, playing some of that Syndra. We see that LeBlanc in solo queue, so we'll see what they pick here on 4. Expect it to be a mid laner just because you see so much of the comp already, so you kind of should have an idea of maybe what you want, but maybe they throw a little curveball at us and blind pick one of, but I think Stubby is a player that best uses R5. He has a lot of weird picks in the champion pool, such as maybe Kled or Singed. Like there's a lot of stuff on this guy's wheelhouse.
I think the big understanding as well is either way for SGG, you have to blind pick something, which is an obvious statement. It does seem like their focus is sent a little bit towards that top side. We do see that Rumble band away that we didn't really touch on, but it's understandable. Skarner doesn't want to deal with that flamethrower a little bit later on. It can't cook you even if you are not CC'd. And there's the Gnar. So heavy focus towards that top side. This is, I think, I'm going to agree with you. Go ahead, pick up that mid lane. Go ahead and let Outrage grab their own mid lane, whatever they want to do. And there it is, another CC chain. This is now just sitting here going, please pick Morgana for all that is holy. Grab Morgana, just keep your ADC safe.
Yeah, totally. It would be a valuable pick for SGG to pick that up. So the Vigor being picked up kind of tells me they are down to, they're happy with what they've drafted so far. They're down, they're not trying to end the game super early. So we've grabbed some scaling options. We're going to see what SGG are going to do to round out. And I like the Ahri. It's explosive. And I like that in these teams picking a little bit more agency in the early mid portions of the game, because playing with a lead, we all know and love playing with a lead. It just feels really, really good. And Ahri is going to be an extra little trigger pull. She can just disappear into the bot river and you know kind of her destination, but there's nothing stopping her from actually just completing that roam, walking behind your bot lane turret and making this game for the Zeri a little bit scarier.
Of course, now on the top side, you do need to flesh it out a bit, and I like the Renekton call down. That is going to be Skarner, most likely, roaming around in that jungle is what I would assume. Granted, this is still flexibility. I mean, you can get silly with it if you want, but I like the Maokai in that support role. You mentioned it before. Well played from SGG support. Now, the last pick here. If you're CGCW, what do you want to run? We mentioned this R5. Stubby has a lot, and if you want to go for a little bit more damage heavy, I know the Zeri and Vigor want to scale up. Aatrox can do that, but it can get a bit silly. There's a Kled that you mentioned, though. Go ahead, lock it in R5. Get it rolling.
Yeah, that's Stubby's specialty. He's known for it in solo queue. We're going to see if he's able to navigate his way through the matchup. There's a lot of CC on both sides. I really like this, but SGG definitely have a lot of early power in this game, specifically around the top side. Like when Ahri hits that level 6, when she disappears, Renekton is typically pretty strong in the lane. Skarner can make that a little bit scarier, but then down bottom lane, this Nautilus is going to be hitting hard. The Sejuani, we'll have to see where the junglers end up pathing, but I was confused. I was not expecting the twist on pick B5 for SGG to pick up the Renekton. When they banned out the Rumble and the Gnar, it almost telegraphed to me like those are really tough matchups for the Skarner. So it looked like they were protecting the Skarner just going top, but then they threw a bit of a curveball in the draft, and Iska just said, you know what, give me that Renekton and I'm going to run this guy over. So we're going to see what these teams are going to have to show for us when we hit the Rift.
I think that leans a little bit more into Iska maybe just not enjoying those champions. I mean, there are some, especially in this elo, where you still have, it's not so much, hey, we know the matchups, we know everything of the sort. Sometimes you just don't feel good against that champion. Go ahead, ban away, just deny it. And granted, it might hurt a little bit, but sometimes you can do really well as well. Going into the regular draft, keep in mind we are using that draft log client or anything of the sort. You got to get the draft in. Now we get to see where the champions actually are locked in and see if our somewhat predictions are correct. My eyes, though, kind of drawn into that jungle role, because a lot of this, it sounds like we are putting pressure on those junglers. You're talking about CJ Lopez and Singular Bread. Both these players have a lot on their shoulders if they want to get this game accelerated.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. The way I sort of understand the bot lane dynamic is that Ducker guy on the Maokai is mainly playing for disruption and to sort of absorb a lot of the engage coming into his team from the Wranglers. So it's going to be on Adam to just have so much free reign. So if he can disrupt some of the eventualities that are going to happen in the mid lane, like when Ahri gets access to that level 6 and she disappears, the map can get really scary. But if you're disappearing into a Nautilus hook or something, then you're just a goner. So if Adam's going to be able to make his sort of debut here on this blind pick Nautilus, he's going to have a little bit of a statement. I want to see some roams out of him. I want to see some activity on the map. Pair up with that Sejuani, and you guys have just like way too much CC. So if you can visit some of your volatile lanes, specifically in that top lane, I know top lane roams from support can be a little bit rare, but when you have Renekton versus Kled, one of those guys is getting ahead and is going to have a great game.
Now, keep in mind for SGG, I am looking down their composition. As much as we're talking about, the CC coming out for CGCW, I do also want to mention an overarching unfortunate theme that will be for SGG. They're on a little bit of a timer. And the reason I say that is you take a look at the damage profile. The Kai'Sa can pump out, but it's more single target. You got to blow up one person, then you got to move on to the next. That's kind of how they want to play. The Ahri is the same way. Are you in the same boat as me, Jordan? Are you saying, are you thinking that SGG also their damage profile? Granted, they have a tank. Don't get me wrong, with the Skarn and the Maokai, they're both going to get tanky, but the damage output actually seems to be a little bit lacking on their side.
I can totally follow your logic and sort of agree with some of the points you're making. I just think there's enough go buttons in the early game from this Ahri, from this Renekton, and this Skarner that an early grub fight, if Wranglers pick their time and they pick it at the wrong time, like when Veigar has some downtime and really isn't online yet, and Ahri totally is, Ahri from ahead will absolutely take over a game. I've seen what this champion can do with Malignants and Leandries, and it feels like you're just dying to the R charges. You didn't get hit by the charm, you dodged the Q, and you're still dead. So it's like the snowball potential coming out from SGG is really, really there. So I'm not worried. I wouldn't exit this draft being like, oh, like we're on a timer, we got to end this game like really fast. We got to get 4 Drakes. If anything goes wrong, it's GG. I think there's a massive window. But obviously, if we entertain the idea of the infinite scaling, Veigar, the Zeri maybe living a late game fantasy, it's going to be really important for one of these two teams to pull ahead to be sort of the catalyst for action in this one.
I can agree with that one. You know what? Maybe I didn't specify. I always think about late game whenever I see a Veigar. I mean, Veigar is my guy. I love Veigar so much. It's a great champion. I am surprised to see it roaming back into that potential. I mean, we talk about the early game and we talk about the Ahris that are very popular now. It's nice to see Veigars, coming back into the mix. Hey, we love the CC. Very easy to kind of corral off inside of the river. But you talked about those early fights, and I do want to mention that is where I think SGG should have their minds as well. So if you are Wranglers, where are you hoping to place yourselves to see if you can win the early game? Are you pretty much forfeiting a lot of these grub fights or these dragon fights, or do you actually want to challenge? And if so, where are you going to play it? Are you going to play it with Sejuani top as well, or are you looking more towards the bot side? Where do you want to try and play the early game?
Yeah, this is one of those games where it feels awkward to have a mid laner that's kind of bowing down and surrendering a lot of the agency in the early game. So you do have to look for those extremities. So Nautilus or Sejuani visiting the top lane is going to be amazing and sort of similar on SGG's side. But as well, if you can get behind the bot lane's turret, this Maokai pick, it is a little bit outdated. This champion does not have the same amount of stat sort of budget to it in the support role anymore, and Nautilus is like the premier guy that's going to force on you bottom. So I would look to see the bot lane trades are going to go like. If I'm playing it out in my head, I would say Wranglers have very strong advantage in this Nautilus pick. So look for some early trades, make bot lane really scary, and then you don't necessarily look for a gank option, but then free up that Nautilus to really look for or something a combination with the Sejuani.
Ooh, I like that call, and especially if you also get the Zeri rolling as well. I mean, if Kiora, we mentioned, hey, live in that late game fantasy. If you throw focus towards that bot side, the Zeri gets strong. All of a sudden, your dive-in potential is at a dangerous point. You look at that Kai'Sa, and all of a sudden, the Kai'Sa can't deal with these trades, and that's the whole thing. Kai'Sa wants to go in. Kai'Sa wants to fight. If your lane opponent gets ahead, that's a big problem. Final thoughts here, Jordan. Who came out on the top side with this draft? Who do you think is coming away with this victory? Because we know the skill's there for both sides, but do you think one team won out in the draft?
Oh, I love the top side coming in from SGG, but as a bot laner, I gotta say, I like having that hook. I like having the game in my hands. So I'm gonna take Clown Gaming Wranglers. But again, I love the top side strength. I love the rolls up there. There's a lot to offer. So I think it's very close. We're in for an exciting one.
Alrighty, well, either that or we're in for a snooze fest until we hit 30 minutes. I mean, that's the other side of a Vygar, just like, yo, let me scale, let me do whatever I want to, and I'll play the game later. So, you know, we either get a very exciting game or we get a very sleepish game, and then we get to play a little bit later on. While we do have a little bit of time, I do want to talk a little bit about our amazing sponsor and game changer app. Quick shout out to Pro Comps, of course, for in the League of Legends community. If you're interested in it, it's your own personal draft coach, perfect for both teams and solo players. In fact, you can pair it with any other apps you use. Procom stands out with features like custom champion pools, personalized tier lists, and live draft advice. Think of it as having a virtual coach and strategy toolkit all in one. They already have over 200,000 downloads and thousands of daily users, so go ahead and check them out because it's totally free. Download Procomps now and experience a whole new level of drafting power in your league games. Go to procomps.gg, download it from Overwolf, or click the panel below on our stream. So let's go ahead and, go ahead, check it out, see if you get these comps coming out in your own. Let's also get into the game if we can, because I know I hear the sounds. The teams are all set as well, so let's roll into it. We got SGG and Clown Gaming Crab Wranglers, and I know they're going to be excited for it. I'm very, very excited to see what they can throw down here, as already the new masteries feeling a little bit like Mobile Legends out there, but a little bit of a flair. 14 levels on Adam.
Very good, very good. The only thing I want to correct you on is that there's no way this game is going slow. It might go late, but it will not go slow. There is so much CC on both sides. We have volatility in at least 2 lanes. I'm thinking about top and bottom, and then we've got this Ahri that it's gonna have a lot of value a lot earlier than this Vygar is gonna bring. And then the ball's gonna swing over to the other side. Like once the grouping happens, a Vygar cage is gonna be a lot more deadly. So we'll see if the Kled can pull ahead or the Renekton can pull ahead, if there's gonna be some side lane shenanigans in this game, because Vygar doesn't handle himself in the side lane the same way that an Ahri or a Renekton otherwise would. So let's see how these play out.
Oh man, I just want my Vygar to do well, man. I'm looking at Outrage, I'm like, bro, please do all Vygar mains a favor and win this game. Play well, play smart. Of course, we'll have to wait and see how it goes. Already a nice little start with the junglers, though. Both of them, of course, starting inside of their blues. Want to get that ramped up on those skills, and then I'm guessing full clear, moving into opposite sides, so maybe a meeting on the bot side and on the top, depending on where they decide to go.
A little bit of a trade here,
though. Yeah, very exciting here. And Decker is now going to have a little bit of trouble, but the hook actually misses. So as much damage as you thought you were going to have, Adam actually took a chunk back.
Yeah, that was a little bit rough. Kind of miscalculated. The minion sort of said, "Get down, Mr. President." But we're seeing a topside start coming in from CJ Lopez, and I imagine he's actually going to look to 3-camp top lane, because pathing down to your sort of inactive or your like absorb pressure lane doesn't make a ton of sense for me. Maybe they have something different around Maokai going for some flash shenanigans. But look at the trades happening already in the top lane. So Sejuani on Singular Bread on this Sejuani already has his priorities met. I'm going to that top lane, right? So we'll see what this Skarner pathing is looking like. It looks like he's trying to go down.
Yeah, this is excuse me, this is one of those that you're just like, okay, this is quite interesting. About 20 seconds behind as well, and we'll see if it plays out. You can already see a couple of those identification markers. I mean, at this point, I assume the Wranglers already know that Skarner is on that bottom side. Lopez hasn't really shown, but it is understood. Stubby, of course, going in a little bit with this trade here, but about to lose Skarl, and now it's a little bit of a dangerous spot to be in. You're going to go ahead and recharge up pretty nicely, but so far, Iska's doing well.
Yep. No, but I still like. I'm still got my eyes on this Sejuani after his full clear. The ability to stack Sejuani passive with a Kled in the game is some of the fastest that you can find. So we see him going for a bit of a creative gank path here. He's taking the long way around, and it looks like he's behind him.
Well, bot side is also having a little bit of fight, so it's really a chase for first blood. That's going to be an exhaust down towards that bottom lane. Kiora has to burn that barrier as well. Flashes out. Another claw comes out, but you just out chase a little bit of the opponents, and you are going to be okay. Roam down from Alpha, as of course they're going to try and bait it out, but I don't think Adam and Kiora want anything, but I'm not sure if you wanted that. Adam, why did you go in? You got it, though. You got the kill. I doubted you for a second, and no way Adam lives this. No way Adam is out. Adam is safe. Of course, Alpha does have flash. Yeah, charm coming up. It's a dub, and that's a flash of a wall, but you miss, and you miss a Q. The Wranglers wrangle a couple kills, and now in comes Outrage just to be a giant pain in the butt, trying to get the stacks up on that phenomenal evil.
He's got to be careful.
Now you're a little bit stuck. You're out of
the but Adam's
still
here.
Massive job. That's gonna be a jump in. The Yomi now burning their own flash. Adam getting a hook back on the backside, though. Remember, first blood went the way of the Wranglers, and it's Outrage to pick up an extra bit of damage and kills. Messy bottom lane leaves Wranglers in a dub position.
Okay, let's take stock of what just happened, because that was an absolute fiesta. Skill shots whiffed on both sides. Rotational play from both mid laners. This is not at all what we were expecting. But some missed, that play just had everything. But as the dust settles, we look at a kill on the Nautilus. That's going to get him some early boots, some early durability, and he's going to feel a little bit good about that, getting that extra first blood money. The Zeri, unfortunately, not picking up any of the last hits there, but Outrage is going to feel fantastic. Roaming on the Vigar, which is not even on the job description of what you're supposed to do in the camp, and then picking up a last hit for himself. Really questionable sort of planning, because again, the Skarner Maokai combo, like, you're doing next to no damage. So with barrier being the summoner spell it is, like, the amount of safety and the amount of durability on the side of the Wranglers there, I was really confused that they were going to elect to actually force bottom with sort of the power on both sides there. We didn't really get to see the effect that Sejuani had in the top lane. It didn't look like it amounted to much. It looks like both top laners, their flashes on cooldown. So it looks like Iska is playing the 1v1 out well enough that he can keep himself safe up here in the top lane, as we see the Sejuani pathing up there once again.
I mean, you didn't really have to touch bottom lane. You went there, you got a very slight showing. You were able to raise the pom-poms as the kill went down, and now you're kind of safe. And I do agree, these little differences here, these little pieces of the puzzle falling into place, maybe not meshing as well as you would like for SGG's side. Remember, because Alpha lost their flash as well, means Outrage is actually quite safe until level 6 hits. That's why we're seeing this gentle hold by Outrage. You're a little bit up about a wave, and that's considered a win if you're a Vigar, in my opinion. Top side, though, Iska now getting jumped on, gets stunned up here. And keep in mind, this is a 1v1 until Stubby comes in. In comes Lopez, though, going to try and make their way over, but it's drawn out. No worries. You're more focused on the grubs. Go ahead and collect that objective.
Nice, really good play there from both sides to sort of eye up what was the potential. Let's kind of jockey for position there. But we do see a firm camp lead coming in from the Sejuani. He's sitting on a lot of money, though, and it looks like they're actually going to contest here.
I mean, I think they can. Of course, Outrage is able to get a stun down, and they're going to try and turn it around. What a stun, though, as that's a chop. Outrage flashes forward with the Primordial Burst, is able to get one, but now you're in a dangerous spot because Alpha is going to try and dash away around. That's a little bit of tether, and Stubby saves their mid laner. What a hold now. A Q goes out. Event Horizon should be up, and you do. You collapse in onto no mana on Alpha, means this is just auto attack to death, and Stubby gets one for themselves as well. The Wranglers are wrangling kills around. Iska TPing back after being revived. The bottom side, I believe, Adam and Kiora were able to force their way into a 2v1 situation. Stubby, no. Stubby found the awesome catch, and Lopez is eating up for breakfast.
Absolutely massive proactive play coming in from the Wranglers. They're coming out absolutely firing on all cylinders. The first play going a little bit awry, maybe some mistakes there on the field, but they are absolutely just forcing on their opponents. You're going to see another trade here from the Nautilus, hooks the wall, but the Twisted Advance will get him out of that one. But if you're Sejuani and you're dying at that grub fight, you get your base, and your team is going to just collect a bunch of kills in the end. You're saying jungle diff. That's like absolutely fine on from your eyes. You're buying cheap items, and your laners are the ones you really want to get ahead.
And I mean, we also have to talk about the overarching factor of this, as now Singular comes back in. You have ultimate, you know Iska doesn't have flash because you had the flash timers. That's a huge cue to go ahead and keep yourself alive, but Iska getting a full force brunt action, isn't even able to lane safely. I just want to mention, remember, for the Wranglers, this is great for them twofold. Yes, you're getting a lead in the early game, but also you're scaling up. Take a look at where the kills went on Stubby and Outrage, two champions that you want towards that late game.
Yeah, absolutely. This Kled is going to accelerate beyond belief. I will say Iska is doing a great job in the top lane, sort of absorbing pressure like that we just saw. Singular Bread trying to target him out, saying, I'm going to send you back to spawn. And he's achieved a bit of a CS lead for himself and is staying safe. But as we look, speaking of staying safe in the bot lane,
I mean, Kiora is safe technically. Adam, though, is running pretty dang good interference. They're going to try and get the root and the ignite. And yes, you got it. However, you just brought Kiora into a dangerous spot. Barrier ain't going to do a dang thing. And that's the kill that you want. This time, Lopez doesn't feel like a force. You grab a 2 for 1.
Yep, signs of life coming in here. After the levels come through for Lopez, he's got access to that level 6. He does have a lot of CC and things to offer for this Kai'Sa. The plasma stacks up oh so quickly. While I say that, Alpha did roam all the way down there, comes out empty-handed and loses a plate and a wave because of it. So it was an expensive roam in the mid lane. Outrage is still pulling ahead. Stubby is doing quite well for himself in this matchup, using the kills to full effect, but the items are oh so close. So we'll see how this transpires. More trading.
I mean, Stubby and Iska just kind of doing what they want. They also know they're not going to be up for this upcoming Drake. You can see the rotation coming in from Adam towards that mid lane, just clearing out the vision, making sure they get Outrage in a good spot. And they want to collect. I mean, it's Ocean. It's a nice one to have. It's not great, obviously. I mean, well, actually, I'd say it's one of the best early game dragons to have, but it's at 10 minutes. Like, laning phase is starting to dwindle just ever so slightly.
Yeah, because of the brawls that have been happening in the bot lane, no team has really got a foothold of the bottom river enough to really convert on that dragon. So it's kind of just sitting there, meaning Soul is very far away, but we're seeing more in the bot lane.
I mean, that's a good catch. Kiora is already going to go down here. One more auto should do it, but they don't get it. Oh, you drew it, Yomi. Yomi's able to get the 1 for 1. However, it's going to tune into a 2 for 1. A final comment comes from this guy as Outrage is on a killing spree. You know what, Kiora? Your life was not in vain. Stubby now on the top side, though. Going to try and duel out. You have Scarlet in your pocket, but Iska wondering exactly what they got to do. It's just a trade in the top side.
Yep, so another big victory for the Wranglers. They are going to convert on the dragon kill. If we're looking at sort of the silver lining, it's definitely Graviton picking up those kills onto their Kai'Sa, as we're seeing a bit of a trade of ultimates, maybe.
Oh, nope. It's just Alpha having to run away. Lopez, though, able to draw in Adam, and what a charm to have. Went a little bit too far. The tin can said, nope, I'm in the wrong spot, and Alpha is able to get their first of the game.
Yep, that's a good pickup from them. Adam walking a little bit far forward. A lot of CC on this team, a lot of disruption, and Lopez is going to kidnap him under that tower. I think the biggest the biggest theme that I've noticed is the bot lane seems to be scrapping a lot, but not around a timer that really Alpha can get involved in. They picked this RE4 activity in this early game, and they're fighting permanently bottom when you have the Maokai versus the Sword. You don't pick Maokai for this purpose. If you really want a fist fight, go something like Leona, where you can just go toe-to-toe with each other, right? So that's why you're seeing a pretty big advantage, but all the last hits falling into Adam's pocket. I mean, Outrage picked up a couple, which is nice, but our 0-3 Zeri is not thriving the way we'd like, but life is still good for the Wranglers.
Considering I also feel a lot of those fights you just mentioned, you know, SGG kind of pulling the trigger on the bot side, Kiora has only died like in rust scenarios and stepping forward. I think Kiora is doing pretty good. You got the assist, you have a very gentle CS lead, which is obvious, really not even a lead. It still feels good at the end of the day. Of course, right now we are seeing this extra grub fight, as this is going to be a 4v4. However, that's a huge pull coming in here, but Lopez can't do much more than that. Iska is stunned up inside of that Dominus, and the rest of the team is going to try and collapse in. Of course, the Wranglers, they're doing just fine. They have the CC, they have the damage, and they have the kills. And guess who's here? Kiora says, give me my kill. Gets one at the end, and it is the Wranglers to carry on without a single death.
Yeah, and Kiora's already saying ADC gap. He's going to pick up his first of the game. That's going to feel really good for him, but the Wranglers own the top side of this map. Yeah, we'll see about that one. The killer instinct could come through, but I think that would be a little bit little bit psychotic potentially, but the CC coming through, the levels are just not there for SGG to be taking these kind of outnumbered situations or skirmishes. So really good on the Wranglers to isolate the point of the map that they would want to create conflict, and they've succeeded in finding it.
And the scary thing to me is that these opportunities for SGG, we mentioned, you know, the RA can really pop off if you get a lead. You're not getting a lead right now. Those early game opportunities that SGG actually needed to propel themselves to a more proactive early game, it's kind of lost, right? Like, it's not gone. I shouldn't say it's gone, but it's pretty close to being closed, as now you have to look for those opportune mistakes from the Wranglers. You have to start looking for those isolated fights. You're getting a little extra gold back, but you're already down 3k in the early stages. I think the Wranglers are kind of sitting pretty, going, hey, I'm pretty good right now.
Yep, 100%. I think GG just need to slow it down a little bit. They do have Malignance completed onto Ari, so she is spiking one of the hardest spikes in the game right now. So we're going to see what she can do with that, as they are sort of setting up around the mid lane. You got to find pockets of vision to sort of deny so that you can operate safely, to look for engages, look for picks. You see that Decker guy finally finding his footing in the mid lane and is looking comfortable. So if they can find a little bit of a pick into a charm, into something more, that'll look really good. But starting the Rift Herald kind of raw like this is a little bit risky. Outrage does have access to his teleport. As they're jockeying position for the mid lane, we're going to have to see if Wranglers are going to say absolutely not, or if they're down to just kind of chill.
I think they're giving. Also, I don't think they knew. And because of that, SGG, with what you called kind of that raw pull, the raw pull is what they needed. They needed to do it in that time frame, and they got it.
Yep, that's a good vision play from them. They sacked a little bit in the top lane. It wasn't anything crazy, so Iska's doing good to lend a helping hand to his team to make that Rift Herald take a little bit more safe, I guess I would say, because the Wranglers were spread out on the map looking for as much gold as they can muster. So you gotta break the tempo a little bit and take a small L for a good victory.
Of course, that does mean you now have to transfer your vision down towards that bottom side. The dragon is currently up. I believe it is Hextech or Chemtech. I wasn't able to see which one. Of course, it is only going to be one of those. So you go ahead and just kind of hang on to it. However, if you give a 2-dragon lead plus a 4 grub over to the side of the Wranglers, they all of a sudden get massive shoving power, and it gives such a predominance over the global objectives later on in the game. So I want to see what SGG have.
Yeah, they do have the Rift Herald to sort of muster up some mid lane priority. They could look to trade maybe the dragon for the mid lane tower. That would be a really good trade for them, or they might use it to try and dissuade the dragon start. So we'll have to see what they can get going on here. Kind of just poking and prodding at the enemy. The vision is definitely in favor of the Wranglers, though, so face checking into this Vigar, into the Sejuani is oh so scary. So the mid lane priority is going to have to be the decider, as we're seeing a little bit of a 180, and we're going to hop right out of that one.
And that's an unfortunate one. Yomi decided to go in with the Herald, and the Herald was not happy. Lopez tried to root them up, but Alpha is going to go down. This is a wash and a half for the side of the Wranglers. They're making money. Kiora will be the only one to fall, but it's still an ace for one.
Yeah, welcome to season 14. If you have not taken your driver's license test, you should not be hopping in that thing, because it is a way to get engaged on. It is a way to get some of your teammates killed. So unfortunately, that Decker guy did not really adapt to Yomi's awkward Rift Herald usage. Gets eaten up by the CC chain, and it's just an explosive from there. But like we talked about, like, I want to give a quick shout out to Singular Bread and Adam. These guys are the Engage brothers right now. They are absolutely smurfing out of their minds on the Rift. They're just throwing skill shots, and I like to see it. I like to see just aggression, and then you got to sort of dial it back when you've made a couple of mistakes. You know how far you've gone. Like, we already saw Adam go down a couple of times just looking for like a little bit too much, hooking back in, going for that 1-for-1. But he's got a killer instinct, and you'll love to see that in a support or in a playmaker.
And the big part. Yeah, and the big part is, as well, you've only died twice. Technically, Adam hasn't actually done that badly. Like, you're doing really, really well for yourself. You're making those engage happen. And I really like the way that you pointed it out. They are the engaged brothers, what I like to call the trigger pull. Whenever you play these games, you want that itchy trigger finger to say, hey, we have the CC, we have that ability to kill someone, let's do it. Hesitation is the enemy of some good teams. So for right now, the Wranglers, Clown Gaming saying, hey, we can do whatever we want. At this point, you are 18 minutes into the game, you have a 6k gold lead, and you have control over the Drakes, plus a breakthrough on the top and mid. You can do whatever you want, including engage in the enemy jungle if you so wish, with only your support.
Yep. So now I will point out Outrage has no teleport in the bottom. So this is where we look at what is the winning team sort of doing wrong? Like, are they making mistakes or are they just playing perfect? Wranglers are playing fast and loose right now, and what they're doing is actually punishable. But because they're doing it so aggressively, the side of SGG, they're a little bit scared. They're definitely a little bit a little bit timid. They're afraid to face check. They're on the back foot, so they don't know when and where it is time to sort of strike. And so right there, the Nautilus is bluffing with his body. He's definitely killable in that situation. Vigar's not coming, so you could take a 5v4 there. Like even right now, they're completely alone and they're forcing Lopez off. But it's just there's a lack of there's no vision on the side. There's not enough sort of go buttons. We question the tools that they picked up in the draft. Like Iska is looking like the more proactive. Like he's stepping up in the lane. He's playing these trades pretty well. He's absorbing pressure pretty well. But the rest of SGG are kind of just looking a little bit lost. They're not finding good moments to pull the trigger on an opponent. Like when you guys have Maokai ultimate, when they have Skarner ultimate, somebody needs to be pressured, right? Like make the side lane scary for this Vigar, right? But the Vigar is kind of pushing, scaling up, getting to his critical mass.
And also being able to be prepped for some of those fights. We were talking about, pressuring the Vigar. Well, Vigar got to hold inside of a bush and almost pop alpha if that last Q went through. These are the things that you can't allow. So I do agree. SGG need to start kind of priming for that 5v1 situation. You don't really have many options. Like, you guys are on the back foot. You have to recognize things are not in your favor. Baron currently spawning more than available for the side of the Wranglers. They have everything in their bucket. By the way, Singular Bread already on second item, everyone else following suit. This is a very, very strong team. If they wish to try and pull an early Baron, I wouldn't be upset about it. Stubby, of course, waiting off on the wings, gonna try and chunk out Iska here with red buff as well. I'm not sure Iska is actually going to enjoy this one. You're gonna slice and dice your way back out. Stubby gonna go over, gets the bear claw down, and Adam is gonna help out. Iska's got, what a prediction! You knew it was gonna happen. There's a dominance, but Stubby still gets the kill, and now the rest of the team is coming in, but you're going up against one of the strongest fighters. Of course, under the tower, you're doing so much work. Stubby, without your help from Skull, you are dead. Singular gets in front, but the flash from Singular Bread is gonna be okay. Rest of the team now coming in, though, and Singular Bread doesn't really have a way out. That overstep that you mentioned, Jordan, is gonna come into play. Shut down and then some for the side of SGG.
Yep, that looked really sick, but that was actually a bit of a throw. Yep. Adam going a little bit hard there, gets scooped up by the Skarner. Once again, this Skarner pick is actually doing a lot of work to counter what Wranglers are throwing at them. But is this a Baron attempt that is maybe a little bit of a throw? They have Zeri poke, they have Vigar cage, so I think this is going to be dissuaded. And it looks like there might even be a part 4 to this story.
Part 4, 5, 6, and 7. However, everyone said it's just going to be a trilogy. I'm so sorry. This is, the good side of it. SGG got the shutdowns. They got the kills. Not only that, they drew the TP out of Outrage. It just came back up, by the way. It was very close to just getting back on board, and now you lost it. So Stubby's the only one with the TP on the side of Wranglers. So for SGG, that's a big dub.
Yep, absolutely. And I will shout out Yomi knowing where and when to be and coming in third partying that fight with the killer instinct on the Kaisa. That shows a lot of sort of awareness and value right there, because they were ready for that play. Trying to take down Iska is going to be one of the hardest champs to take down on the Rift right now. Adam trying to take a bite out of Decker guy, and here comes Iska.
Iska's gonna get right in the mix, in the dominance, but it's only a little bit of HP. You are just dead. Outrage is unstoppable right now in the little minion form. And honestly, that's going to be enough, I think, to draw a third dragon for yourselves. You can see Stubby already going back saying, hey, we got the dragon for free. It's a cloud. It's not the most combative one. But hold up, SGG, I thought they were going to give up here. They're actually walking into a little bit of danger. In goes the Nature's Wrath, and red team is able to pick it up. So Wranglers get the dragon, but that's a huge impale. Lopez is able to draw him in, but they don't have the damage. Take a look on the back end. Outrage flashing out to safety, gets another Event Horizon down, and gets a kill on Lopez. Alpha is going to fall as well. The shredding continues, and the Wranglers gather another. Clown Gaming is laughing at their advantages. They are going to rush straight at the Baron and collect everything.
The composure coming in from the Wranglers right now, they're just feeling themselves right now. They're playing so well. They're firing on all cylinders. Adam went for the locket. I normally see most tank supports nowadays rushing Warmogs because it's just such a strong item.
Yes.
He did go for the locket, and in that exact fight, I can say locket did so much work to dissuade the limited damage coming through from SGG. They ran out of juice, and the locket just made sure that we had 5 survivors to that fight. They're going to pick up a Baron. They're now sporting, we're looking at, I can't even count. It's such a massive gold lead. Is that 13,000?
Yes, that is 13,000.
Okay, so I want to take stock. When we were talking before the top lane fight, they were 9,000 gold ahead, and this is where SGG gets a shout out because they made the top side play 9k down. The play yielded them 2,000 gold from the deficit. Yep. So they were within 7k. It's still dire, but they did find a good window to strike back on their opponents. And then Wranglers shook their head and said, okay, no more like diving a Renekton under 6 towers and everything. Let's just fight Dragon. Let's play standard. And Adam finds the engage once again. Singular Bread finds the engage once again. And it's just absolute hunting season.
Oh, it is 100% hunting season. It's about to be turned into a handbag here. You got no way out. That's going to be a little bit of depth charge, and just one more Q should finish it. Oh, no. Actually being safe because no one wanted to expend their ultimates. I mean, Outrage still has the primordial presence. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. However, a 4-1 push is going to be the name of the game. And SGG, their options for entering these fights are quickly dwindling. Rock goes out, barely does anything. Outrage is going to get another one down. And again, it is that Decker guy getting caught out here. The Maokai is just not the right answer. SGG losing their support and possibly another as Lopez gets chunked out. This is Clown Gaming Wranglers going, we are chilling right now.
Yep. No, they're doing really well. Like, we're gonna have to see if they're able to close out cleanly. They have everything that they need and more.
Are you kidding me? Outrage with the pixel perfect Event Horizon. That should be the break on the top side. In comes Skarl. The chase is on as Stubby goes straight for the jugular. Yomi is the only one alive. And SGG are in shambles. This is Outrage going to recall, complete their Warmogs as well, or whatever item they so choose. There it is, the Warmogs is up. TP back in, just for a little bit of style. I love it so much. The meta is broken when I see 3 Warmogs on the side of CGCW. Game 1 in just around a kill a minute will go the way of Crab. I called him Crab. Clown Gaming Crab Wranglers.
Yep. Singular Bread and Adam absolute smurfing the lobby, and that's the blind pick Sedge and the blind pick Nautilus. Yes. They said, okay guys, we don't want counter pick. You guys have the counter picks and the counter carry rolls. We're just gonna draft all the go buttons and you guys are gonna benefit from that. So solid game plan, solid draft. I loved how like every single player had playmaking of some kind. Right?
Yes.
Stubby up there with his niche counter pick matchup had a lot of agency in that game. I thought there was some good things that we saw out of SGG. Iska held his own in the top lane. That was really good to see. Some draft holes in the bot side for the rest of them. Some really good Skarner value. To punish the over aggression from Wranglers, but they didn't achieve anything with their Ahri. They didn't achieve anything with their bot lane. Unfortunately, it was all responsive, and we need to see a little bit more of a proactive approach if we're going to see a bit of a banger series here.
And I think you mentioned it earlier, the goal differences that came out. You can actually see like the specific mistakes that occurred from the side of the Wranglers. You can see that dip somewhere around 20 to 22 minutes, that deep dip back for the side of SGG. But overall, very heavy fall for the side of the Wranglers. And I also want to mention, you talked about the value that Singular and Adam brought, and if you wanted it represented, take a look at the damage that the Vygar was able to output. 24.1k damage. Not only that, went unkillable, was almost legendary at the end, or was, I think, actually passed into godlike. Very, very strong team. And honestly, if you're SGG, you mentioned, hey, some changes got to be made. What do you want to see specifically for the side of SGG if we want to see a competitive game? Is it the draft, or is it just gameplay itself?
I swear, you just swap out the Maokai for the Leona, and it's like a completely different game. I promise. Like, I might be wrong, but Maokai was super OP last year. Or at the start of this year. Not like we are on patch 14.13. This champion is nowhere on the radar. We are in strong. Like, if you want to play a protector, Braum's your guy. Stand behind Braum. That's chill. But no, like, we need go buttons. We want the Nautilus. We want the Rel. We want the Leona. We want go. Like, that's it. That's it. We want agency in the bot lane. Set me up for some kills. We got the Kai'Sa. The Plasma is going to stack up so incredibly quick. But Maokai offers no early damage. Just a little bit of vision control with his saplings. It doesn't come on to level 6. Like, what are we trying to achieve with our draft? Are we trying to smash the Vygar Zeri, or are we trying to scale beside them? Like, I did not see a clear plan with their early game, right? Like, or with their draft in general, right? The Ari says we're gonna make the Rift really scary, and then we pick the Maokai beside it. That's not scary. That's not scary. That's really, it's not, right? There's too much downtime. The Maokai ulti's CD is so long. Adam will throw 2 game-winning anchor tosses before you're able to get 1 Nature's Grasp off, or more, right? Like, that's just how it's kind of working for them. So Wranglers, we're firing on all cylinders. Good looks from them. We're going to see some adaptations from Graviton. I hope the champion pools are, like, I looked at them in solo queue as well. These guys have champion pools. Like, it's not like they only play one style. Like, they can play with this guy's, the Ducker guys most played in solo queue is Thresh. Thresh is a good disruptor, sure. Like, Thresh is not bad at all. If you can hit some hooks, we can get some kills going. Let's get something going. Let's get something rolling.
I love how everything was focused towards that bot side. We know where Jordan likes to play in the bot lane. Hey, let's go ahead, see if there's going to be any change from SGG. If they do, let's go ahead and see if we can get a competitive series. If not, Wranglers are on the way to a 2-0 start to their season. Please don't go anywhere. The Aegis League will continue here in just a bit. And we are here once again with the Protectors League, and my gosh, the Wranglers were wrangling something, whether it be their own egos, their own overaggression. They didn't show anything going wrong. I think the only thing that we really discussed was that topside push just a little bit too far, and then maybe the silliness of pushing in an aggressive state, leaving a Vigar on their own, but it worked. The Wranglers look so good here at the start of the season.
Yep. And we saw some signs of life over on the side of Graviton. Yomi did well to pick up kills and stay relevant in the item curve with limited options on what you can do when sort of the Wranglers seem to own both sides of the map. Iska did really well in his 1v1, and we already mentioned that Lopez had a pretty good impact on the Skarner. He landed a lot of multi-man ultis, but we're going to have to see as we're approaching the second draft for the second game, we're going to have to see what kind of adaptations. This is where a coach comes in and says, okay, guys, shake off that loss. We're going to go with a different draft strategy, or we're going to stick to our guns, and the adaptations that you're going to see in game. This is why best of threes will show which team is truly better on the day.
I think that's going to be the fun part. We do see one of the big shakeups is SGG now on the red side. And this is actually what I think we also wanted to discuss a little bit. The draft setup, yes, the support probably need to shake up. At the same time, maybe give yourself a counter pick. Get a little bit more of that, counter factor for yourself. So I actually do enjoy this. Right now, though, same triple bans for the side of CGCW. On the other, though, calling out the Skarner of their own, and then also a give or the denial of that Nautilus. However, it leaves open that Misfortune, which was banned away in game number 1, so automatically picked up here.
Yep, so immediately you have to kind of raise prio in your head of, is Adam going to pick up something like a Leona or a Rel for himself? Those AoE like tanky team fighters are so insane, but SGG left it up on purpose, and maybe their idea is a Braum, because Adam plays one style of champion, and that one style of champion is countered pretty heavily by the shield man. If that's what the Ducker guy wants as sort of a conditional counter pick, that's fine. I think it's more fine in this draft as opposed to others, because SGG actually have final picks. So last time, Iska was one of their outstanding members that was doing well in his 1v1. He was in a counter matchup, right? Like he was Kled versus, he was the blind pick Renekton, right? So he's not supposed to be expected to be their bright light, like their only bright light, basically, right? So we're seeing the Ashe pick up. So long range engage, long range pick, a lot of safety and a lot of slows coming in from the side of SGG, and a lot of sort of lane control. This champion seems to have a little bit of everything. Jungle tracking, playmaking, solid damage profile. So yeah, love Ashe. Huge Ashe enjoyer. And there's the Rel. We know Adam wanted to play it. It has insane wombo combo potential with the Misfortune. The Braum is going to be attempting to block it. So we're going to see which team is able to achieve that later on. So we see the bot lanes. Now, where are we going to, we expect a jungle pick here on pick number 3 for the Wranglers. Looking at Singular Bread, and like, why not just slam another Sejuani game? You played so well on it the first time.
Yes.
The green blob man. This could potentially be a flex. We've seen it in the top lane before. It has been nerfed, but neither player seems to be like prioritizing it a heavily amount in solo queue. So maybe it's similar to Sejuani. So again, like, it could just be another Singular Bread specialty pick. He's doing really well for himself on the night. So what will SGG pick? I expect to see some kind of cancel somewhere. So the Tristana for some extra safety. You're definitely not getting scooped up in the wombo as Tristana. You have a lot of sort of safety tools. Tristana is one of the premier mid laners, but kind of encourages an AP jungle. So what will SGG round out with on the 4 pick? Expect jungle on 4. They're going to pinch the Vigar. They said outrage. That was super, super annoying. We don't want to see the little evil man again.
I don't think anyone wants to, except for the mid lane of CGCW. I will say the Zac is a nice one. I just want to point out, I like the fact that they opted for it. You talked about it. It's very close to Sejuani. The fact is, you can sling your whole body over. You can get over the Braum wall. In Sejuani's case, you got to kind of walk through that wall if you have to. So I do like that call down. Rumble's still banned away, though. SGG still saying, hey, we got to focus on that top side. However, this time around, you're going to get to see the pick that does come out. Talia still banned away. CGCW still looking for a bit, saying, hey, we don't want you to take away our Zac or any of our important characters. So the Mordekaiser are banned away.
Yep. Graviton probably thinking about picking up a Lilia. It's kind of one of the Lopez's special champions. How deep does the jungle pool really go? I imagine Lilia is probably just fine to slam here, but maybe you need to prioritize a little bit more frontline, but you really only have one damage profile, and you're into a Zac and a Rel. So we're going to have to see how the draft, the fifth pick needs to be something special. I don't know how we I don't know where to go from here, because the 4-man does one thing pretty well, but only attack damage. So we're gonna have to see how they're gonna adapt on the 5 pick. And then what do you grab for yourself here? Outrage is not going to feel too pressured to do anything crazy. Do we see maybe a Syndra? Do we see, I don't know, we saw some weird stuff from him. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, the Orianna could also be a really good fallback. You know, the dance of either offense or defense with the Shockwave. I love the fact that you were dancing over Syndra, though. I mean, it sounded like they had the exact same idea, and then they were like, maybe not. But this last pick here, this is where your and I's eyes were kind of on. You know, we talked about Stubby Niska in the top side. This is where it's going to break down. This is that big shift, B5 and R5. What will be coming out here? Yeah. Stubby has to blind pick. You have to blind pick. You go back to
maybe the Renekton pickup. Okay, so we are going in. One team's AP heavy and the other team's AD heavy, so tremendous strain on this Misfortune to get ahead or at least stay even. But a Kennen lock, that is a very strong blind pick. Pairs well with Zac. There's a lot of CC between the two of them. But again, very heavy AP topside. So if we play Dr. Mundo, there might be something funny going on up there. But this guy's looking for a game winner here. So Gwen, that is in that wheelhouse of can side lane, can ignore a lot of damage. But Zac and Kennen are kind of going to want to try and melee range you. So maybe he knows something that I don't in terms of scaling the matchups. But Iska has been really outspoken towards like that specific class of champion of like he likes his Renekton. He really likes that Aatrox, Fiora, Camille, and Gwen is just like right up in that class. So maybe SGG said, oh crap, we don't have any AP, and then Iska's kind of bailing them out here with the damage profile. Love the Gwen and the Sedge, double melee, stacks that Sedge passive really quickly. Is this the adaptation that they need to maybe take game 2? I don't know. The Wranglers are looking scary, and they are all going in.
The other side of it is the Gwen is also an immunity charm. You take a look at that Shroud if placed well, you can actually negate all 3 of the damage profiles. You're talking about the Misfortune bullet time, you're talking about the Orianna Shockwave, even the Kennen slicing Maelstrom. If placed at the wrong spot, you actually don't do that much damage. You're not in the middle, right? It's all about that character shard. However, let's go back to the other lanes. We talked about the fact that that bot lane was our big one, and this time around, SGG decided to grab it first. Straight up, no worries, just go ahead and hammer it home. It was a Braum Ashe. The Rel Misfortune still feels like the Wranglers' side, but in the early stages, do we expect to see that heavy focus once again?
I would expect, yeah, it should be a jungle race to the bot lane. Like this time around, it's a little different because the lanes have a little bit more volatility. Like one Braum Q can actually take down a Rel, like specifically just with Ashe. If you have your jungler to supervise you going forward, and Braum finds a hop forward and a hop skip and finds the Rel, or the Misfortune. I expect Misfortune to be very safe here. The Rel is bodyguarding. The Zac is probably going to path bottom as well. Misfortune did just get buffed, so the lane control coming out from both AD carries, they're going to be sort of like in a bit of a 1v1 until something's going to happen. And I totally expect it to be a 3v3 brawl, more so than game number 1.
Ooh, okay. I like it. And if that comes about, I am actually worried for SGG. As much as we're talking about, they have a little bit better time. You know, the Braum going in, it still slightly relies, I feel like, on the Rel, the Misfortune, or Zac going in and getting close enough for that Q to throw down. So heavy reliance on those engage in the mid lane, though. This one also gets spicy. For those that don't know, as Jordan did mention, Tristana's hopping into that mid lane. It's getting silly. This mid lane is actually not in favor, once again, of Outrage. Outrage is actually going to get outranged level 2, level 3. You don't really have that fun time in the mid lane. This Orianna vastly is, hey, I want to help the team. Are we actually going to see this time SGG have a very controlling mid lane?
I don't know. It's hard to say. Like the way he piloted the Vigar really got me thinking, because when I scouted him in solo queue, I was like, oh, he like mains AD carry. He has very limited pool in mid lane. Like, what's he gonna offer? Pulls out the Vigar out of seemingly thin air and plays really well on it. So I would expect he's diversified, and he's probably pretty confident on the pick. So I don't know where is SGG going to find sort of their edge. They do have a lot of punish after Wranglers take the first move. So again, like there's definitely options that they have. It's going to be a little bit quieter on the top side. There was a lot of fighting last time. I expect to be a little bit quieter. Kennen can farm safely. Gwen is going to look to control the lane a little bit, or again, like farm pretty safely under tower. But the bot side of the map is going to be absolutely explosive.
Oh, that's going to be the scary, fun part. I mean, for us, it's very, very fun. However, I also really hope that we don't see the overextensions. I think a big part about it is SGG. One of the things that you and I had to criticize a little bit while we are in break and waiting is their feeling of needing to get more every single time. We talked about game number 1, how they were playing in the bot side. They were able to get a good jump. Let's not get it wrong. Kiora and Adam, they had to flash away. They had to burn the barrier. They had to get away from that fight. That could have been considered a win of their own. SGG though seem like they always want a little bit more. They want the kills. They want extra people in there. Do you see that here? Would they feel better if they did chase in one of those predicaments, or do we hope that they're going to play a little bit more reserved in that bottom lane?
It's funny because in the break we were talking about it, and we were talking about how Maokai is last year's news. And if you want to protect her, I literally said the words, grab yourself Braum. He's
right.
great at doing his job. So we're matching, like we're matching the tiers of champion. Braum is a strong champion, and he's in the right theme for what is going to counter the Wranglers, right? I would love to just see them slam something like Leona and just fight fire with fire, because like you said, they really wanted to play around bottom early, which I was scratching my head about, because you grab this Maokai, right? Just grab the Leona and everything you're doing might be justifiable, right? Like we're going forward, we're getting the kills because we have the damage, we have the CC, we have the early game power, but you didn't have that in the Maokai, so you're kind of just, you're extending too far, and you're giving up extra kills on the backside. So this time around, Braum is comparable. Braum is definitely a counter matchup into Rel. We've checked more boxes. It's just at this level is playing the responder to aggression better than playing aggression yourself, right? And I don't think so. I think Wranglers just have too many go buttons, and that's a great problem to have as a team. So I like the tools that SGG has, but they're gonna have to play at a very high level if they're going to counter what Wranglers is about to throw at them.
And I think also they have to keep eyes on what summoner spells are being used. I think Kiora also had the same idea as you. Hey, we want to go forward, but if I'm going forward, I can't really get caught out like I did earlier. You know, the Zeri has the dash to get away. Misfortune, not so much. And you take a look at the summoner spells, you go ahead, grab that cleanse. For SGG, that is a high priority on their list. They need to keep eyes if it's used, and they need to keep a timer on it, because that's your whole thing. If you get a stun on the Misfortune, yes, the Ash can fall, yes, the Braum is, but if you sync everything in while forgetting about the cleanse, all of a sudden everything feels very, very moot. So as you mentioned, very high priority, very high skill. I'm very, very curious if they're going to make it work. Lastly, of course, we touched on everywhere, but the jungle now gets to have a little bit of fun. Singular Bread. We mentioned in game number 1, massive power pick. And then Lopez this time around grabbing that Sejuani, but still in response to the Zac. You mentioned they want to go to the bot side, but who is going to have that agency once again? Is it going to be Singular who pops off, or do you think that Sejuani is enough to bridge the gap?
See, that's another way to look at it in a kind of way that makes it look better for Wranglers, because Zac gets a free early game. When you see this Zac champion, you need to cover 2 bases. You're going to bully him off his first clear, because he is like historically like insanely low on his first clear. Maybe it's even different, like maybe it's a little bit better with the jungle pet, but he is incredibly weak on the first clear, and he can get bullied out of the jungle very easily. We did not pick a champion that does that, and then in addition, we're going to want to draft like cancels or sort of ignores. So Tristana can ignore, she can buffer out of a lot of what Zac can maybe do to her, and then Sejuani Q, like maybe we're canceling with that. I think maybe Lilia was more up their alley of what they might have needed. Again, you want to draft comfort.
It was banned away though.
Players.
Keep in mind, it was banned away.
Oh, the Lilia was banned in the first 3. Oh
yeah,
my god.
So Wrangler banned it.
Yeah. That's my bad. That's my bad. I totally called out that on 4 they were gonna look for it. So it was already like the further we go deeper down this hole, the Wranglers have kind of covered all their bases. Like they're in their absolute comfort zone, and it's seemingly like there's just this wall of like, what do we do? Like we can't do this. So it's like going into game 2, Graviton, they gotta look for angles again. You do have Iska on this R5 Gwen, if he can have a great game and cut through some people, Gwen can do some scary things. So let's get in the game. Let's see what happens.
All right, let's get into it. Wranglers looking for a 2-0 SGG, hoping to bring it back and go to a game 3. Give us a finale for this amazing concert we've seen so far. Let's go ahead and hop into that game. Wranglers, though, still hunting for that start. And for them, that Zach for me is going to be the big one. SGG, though, are they going to try and get a little bit cheeky? We talk about a lot of what this early game can bring. Braum is one of the best early level 1 invade champions, and you have double ADC, you can proc it very easily. However, it's going to be a 5-point. Don't want to give anything away. SGG saying we're going to take the safe route.
Yep. So a little bit of a fan out, a little bit of a controlled start. Some unique summoner spells on both supports. So we do see the exhaust coming through on both sides. Can kind of follow the logic on the side of the Braum. I still think you're not really in range to go for the exhaust. I think I can maybe set up a Q for you more so than the ignite. But the access to early anti-heal to cut the Zac healing might have been nice. But either way, that's what he's elected to do. But then on the side of Adam, the Mr. Aggressive, Mr. like, I'm going to come for your head and more, is running the exhaust as well. So I don't really understand that side either. Maybe it's he's confident in their way to navigate around that, and you wanted to bring that for the Gwen, because exhaust does completely shut down that champion for the window that she is sort of the most powerful, right?
Mm-hmm. In that same note, Iska actually running the door and shield, already saying, hey, the early poke coming out of a cannon can be frustrating to deal with. So stacking a little bit of early game damage instead, making sure you got that survivability is going to be fun to watch. Decker, though, getting a nice little poke down as Kiora is actually going to fire back, and Decker realizing they might be in a little bit of trouble with both exhausts being used. However, the damage on Decker is a little bit more so, and that's problematic. A flash forward, though, as one more auto almost takes out Decker, but chugging that potion ASAP is going to keep them alive. Yomi having both summoner spells, but man, is Decker in a rough spot.
Yeah, so this time they got the eager flash out of Kiora, so he's going to be missing that one. So that'll open up options for Lopez. We do see Lopez clearing bottom to top. Same situation, but sort of flipped. Singular Bet is going to clear top to bot this time. And we were talking about it in draft that I expect this to be an absolute bloodbath matchup down in the bot lane. A lot of fighting, a lot of contesting. And so Lopez pathing sort of away from what we would have expected both games. Maybe he's cooking something that we don't know about, but game 1 making an appearance in that low damage bot lane was not the victory formula they needed. So we'll see where he goes with that.
And honestly, on the spot side, it's really just playing to try and get that poke out. You can see the Wranglers just looking for that double up. Kiora can keep landing those, and at the same time, Alpha trying to poke out in this mid lane. Outrage, I'm always kind of curious how far you're going to go. Alpha, if allowed to, satchel or sticky bomb into the rocket jump. It just provides so much extra damage. And so it's all about playing these little angles. Both junglers going for that full clear, still waiting for their big opportune moment, as that's another jump into this mid lane. And granted, Outrage is actually doing a really good job keeping up in the CS department, which I'm still thoroughly surprised about. Sejuani, though, Lopez about to make their first entrance into this top side, but we'll be walking right over a ward. That's not going to feel good.
Yeah, so Stubby doing well to get vision control of himself. It looks like Lopez is going to go for he's going to eyeball the gank just to push off the cannon a little bit, but Iska having a decent opening for himself here. The CS department, Yomi is absolutely suffering. Whichever AD carry can maintain push in this matchup. So Misfortune is going to get push, and she's going to be able to a lethal fight in the mid lane potentially. Flash forward.
Ooh.
Nice job
I like
Alpha. Yeah, Alpha getting out of that one. That was actually really good. He's playing the pressure game. Didn't have his jungler, but is able to push the Tristana to the limits there. Going to feel a little bit bad getting his flash burn by the jungler. So the repeat is definitely on the table. But as we were saying in the bot lane matchup, whichever AD carry is able to obtain push gets to use their skill. Oh, and as I say that, there's even more fighting. Yeah, so Misfortune's just going to keep poking with her double up, and that means Ashe isn't really able to poke a lot back with her volley. So whichever AD carry maintains push is going to be able to have all of the control in the lane. Like, look, Adam is so threatening right now, just being AFK in a bush. Lopez is here, Adam doesn't care, and then here comes the Zac, right? So they have such a good early setup to this.
And now they get a jump. They burn the flash out of Yomi, and now you get the slap down. You draw them all in. In comes the Rocket Barrage, and that's a triple stun. What a hold up there. First blood, double kill. Make it a triple if you can. Final shot. Kiora is in God mode.
That's the Wranglers putting the stamp on the series and saying, you know what? We didn't wombo enough last game. Let's wombo more this game as early as 4 minutes and 50 seconds into the game. That was a 3-man naked rel W set up wonderfully by Singular Blood on these tank junglers, just making it absolutely suffocating from minute 1. Kiora getting that early push in the lane, getting that early poke down, and Yomi and the Decker guy are just like licking their wounds saying, what did we do wrong? We never got to play the game. This isn't fair. But this is, again, this is the game that we're playing. This is the game you drafted. They have the proactive tools. You have the responsive tools. We saw that, again, we saw SGG running in towards Adam, right? So what did Singular Bread do? Well, you guys are running at our support. Singular Bread jumped on your AD carry's head and burned his flash, right? That's how that whole situation just transpired from SGG saying, let's kill the rel. And that's not what your champions do. So they're kind of playing away from the win conditions of the champions that they've drafted. And it's really biting them so far in this early as we're kind of taking account for the gold lead as we see Iska going for a bit of an all-in with his ulti.
Oh, but what a stun. What a freaking stun and a half. Iska is going to flash away, but Singular can always follow. The healing is going to be good, but the flash forward from Stubby picks it up. Lopez is going to try and turn it around. However, this is level 6. If Stubby is allowed to slicing Maelstrom, it's a dangerous spot to be in. That's going to be a slam forward. Singular still has their passive up, which means, yeah, that's a jump away. Lopez is like, dang, I can't do anything this game.
Yeah, Lopez unable to create a winning situation out of thin air there.
Jesus.
And Iska just feels so pressured to create something on the top side with the map seemingly being on fire. Here comes Alpha trying to put his stamp on the mid lane, goes for a bit of a trade, but it's just evened up. The shielding from Orianna is going to be good enough to shrug that off. And that's maybe even a shockwave posture right there.
I was waiting for it too. I was waiting for it too, Jordan. I was like, is it going to happen?
So massive lead coming out here. So we're looking at 2,500 gold as Outrage is going to get his flash burn.
Oh, very nicely done.
Defensive shockwave. That's going to be it. So Lopez, that was a good look. That was definitely a good look. The first successful gank of the game. The bot side one was to no effect. Top side one to no effect. But this one got the flash and the ulti out of Outrage. So again, it's great if you can revisit. And then Singular Bread just going to keep on this Zac pathing tempo large in the favor of himself. He's stealing away the Raptor respawn, so then he's going to be able to go over to his 6 camps sort of uncontested here, as we kind of mentioned that the Sejuani invade threat is really 0, right?
Not existent. And at this point, it's even worse so. Lopez has not won out on any of the engages that they brought around so far. Both the bot side, both the top side. It's just, at that point, you actually kind of gut it. And now the bot side is still in danger. Decker takes a quarter of HP before you're even allowed to put up the wall. And the wall isn't going to do anything this time. Flash away as Adam watches Decker get away just barely. But that's a threat in a 2v2 that Wranglers are like, we'll take it.
Yep, that's ults for flash. That's always worth. Adam held the ult for, I think, greeting purposes. He wasn't CC'd for the start of it, so he could have probably scooped up that kill, but they'll take the flash, and they're just going to keep playing the pressure game, getting that CS lead farther up. Lopez, but Singular Bread is here.
Oh, that's such a good one, too. And the Slicing Maelstrom already did the damage. Singular can clean up here. You are a Zac with a decent chunk of damage. Stubby's now going to come in from the side. Gets a nice tag with the Shuriken. Yes, 1 kill is down. Singular wants another, though. It doesn't matter that you don't get Lopez. Wranglers now control top and bot.
All right, Orbital, I'm going to give you some copium. SGG needs to hear this.
All right.
Okay, Sejuani lived right there on 1 HP.
Yep.
That's really good, right? And then the second really good thing is there's an 1,100 gold called Merc Treads in this game. And it's like, this game, out of all the games we're going to play, this is the, oh my God, the Braum bot tabbies. Come on, brother. It's fine. It's fine. Forgiveness. But the other players need to pick up some Merc Treads for themselves because it's like 400% efficient this game. That was the copium that I was going to be doing. So like, you don't necessarily, you can fall behind a little bit because your comp, I mean, they're all like kind of AP, but it's okay. So it's not looking the greatest. The Wranglers are kind of having their way with their opponents right now, firing on all cylinders. and I don't really know what else to say about it. They've gotten one Drake already. Second Drake is coming up in a minute here, so the chance of Soul is much more real compared to last game. So things are going quite well on the side. That Decker guy going to take a look at Outrage, go for the aggressive Q, but again, not a lot of go buttons over on this side. They have the Sejuani, they have the Ash Arrow, so again, play around where your comp is stronger. This might be, yeah, this is kind of nothing. So again, you have your Ash Arrow and you have your Braum ult. So something needs to happen around that bottom lane, or at least around sort of where the Ash can play. So maybe you guys should just 4 or 5 man the Dragon. Like at this point, you guys they gotta look for something they can actually contest. Or Singular Bet is just going to do this.
Yeah, so that hurts a lot more. Now it's actually going to be mid lane that gets it, as Outrage is going to be soloed out. I mean, there's no way to really stay safe in this situation. But it's 1 kill, and you'll take it. At any point, it's extra gold. You'll take it. It's not the one that you wanted, though. You want that extra 300 on Kiora's head.
Yep. But again, Lopez also didn't use his ulti there. So on the right-hand side, we have Ash Arrow, we have Braum ult, and we have Sejuani ult. There is a lot that SGG can do in the next like minute, 2 minutes, or anything like that, right? We can get some flash timers. We can maybe get a dragon for ourselves. Like they do have TP on Alpha. Here comes all of the teams. Everyone is interested in this dragon. So who's going to be able to obtain control? We have a lot of ultimates on the side. Here's the arrow.
That's going to be a nice Glacial Fissure, and they get to hold on. Kiora's actually in dangerous spot, but that's a bullet time to land on everyone. Exhaust goes down as Alpha is able to do no damage. You get no kills. You get no wins. Wranglers say, get back in your pen. You are ours.
That was absolutely insane coming in from the Wranglers. Just, the wombos are just too much. Like the AoE is coming through. The levels are not there. The flash cleanse from Kiora was amazing. Gets a lot of the bullet time damage down. The Decker guy did a pretty good job of blocking some of his own damage, but yeah, it's just too much. You gotta wonder what would happen maybe if Iska was there. Like what if we completely sacked the top lane economy here and TP'd in our Gwen there? It's kind of preemptive. You never sign up, you never pick Gwen signing up for a 10-minute TP down to a Drake fight, but the game is already in that kind of dire situation where you just need to achieve something as a team. So if they had like a 5v, because again, the Kennen had no TP. So if they had a 5v4, I like to maybe think that could have been a dub, but yeah, it's just looking a little bit dire here in game number 2. The Wranglers are taking control.
I think they're going to be more than I think the Wranglers are going to be more than happy about the current state of the game. Remember, when they got a lead last time, they ran the show. They were at the base at about 20 minutes or so, and then of course at 26 they were ending the game. I wonder if they'll be able to do that here as well. Stubby, of course, trying to clear up the rest of those little extra pieces of gold. You can see the grubs helping out here. And I mean, the plates do so much. And taking a look across the board, that is already about, I want to say 7 plates to the other side, which is contributing to what is very close to a 10K lead, 8K in favor of the Wranglers pre 14 minutes. That is an insane amount.
Yep, they're going to be getting a lot of toys here. This Zac is going to be basically unkillable with an Orianna ball behind him, a Rel jumping in as well. It's going to be a sight to see that are next whenever they decide where to strike next. Bloodthirster already completed and then some on the Misfortune. That's going to feel insanely good on the patch. I was wondering when we were going to see this, the no boot Misfortune, because she can maintain strut permanently with that Bloodthirster shield. So love to see that. Even got the call in line for some extra cash in the bank. We're investing on the side of the Wranglers. No, it's looking really good over here. So again, we're looking on the side of SGG. The ults are back up. Their ults are back up. Let's do something, right?
Well, I mean, not only that, I just want to point out it's a triple merc shred on the side of SGG. That's going to be a flash forward. Kiora, though, just struts their way back out as you were talking about. The shield is a little bit down, but you're still okay. It's actually a bait to come back in. In goes the damage. Alpha is barely going to get anything down, and they are annihilated. Alpha's like, bro, I came to the wrong side. Let me at least get a kill. It's not going to happen. It's a quadra kill for Kiora. 9-0 in 2. Someone call 911.
That was
Stubby. Stubby's gonna try. Oh, Iska's got nothing in the bank here. Or do you? Another stun to come out here. Iska has to run. Do you have flash? If you have another Q up, maybe you can't. Oh, Iska has to run. Stubby's gonna flash under the tower. It is 14-1 right now. Wranglers in dominating position.
That's a delayed ace right there, and that bot lane situation was a 3v4 in the favor of SGG. It's rough. It's rough out here. There's not a lot of gold to go around, not a lot of lane power to go around, not a lot of decisions that they get to make anymore. Nope. Being more than 10k down, they kind of have to concede every objective except for their base at this point. And try to just muster some, if they can get to their like first completed items, like let's start there, right? But again, huge shout out to Singular Bread and Adam. They've been like the supportive pieces that these carries need to really function. Like we're seeing Kiara having like a bit of a quieter game one on the Zeri, got a couple early deaths, but participated in a lot of what the team was doing. And then Outrage just having an absolute monster performance game one. And then this time it's kind of reversed, and it's really good to see that kind of thing, that a team can carry from multiple positions. Some teams are very sort of linear the way they view or like approach their team play of like, oh, like this guy can only play tanks. Like no, like this roster seems very dangerous. They seem to pressure from multiple sides. And again, like Singular Bread and Adam being like, okay, I'm gonna blind pick my Zach. We're gonna see another all in here. It looks like he's gonna be gone.
There it is.
But yeah, the blind pick Zach coming through from Singular Bread with confidence. And then you see the Braum on the other side. Normally people would say, okay, that's a bit of a dissuader pick from, I shouldn't opt into that sort of counter matchup, because Braum typically does counter a lot of what Rel is going to try and accomplish in the game. Adam doesn't care. Adam said, "Give me my pick. I don't care. It's up. Give me it. Right. This is our comp. We do the MF Rel combo, and we AOE 3 people, and you're gonna kill everyone. Right. Like that's just what we do. So play to your strengths instead of trying to cover your weakness. Right."
I think that's 100% true. Singular, of course, not worried about their shortcomings. They say, hey, let's go ahead, go for dragon number 3. It is Chemtech Soul to play for, of course. And the Wranglers last time were cheated of their 4th. This time around, more than happy to pick it up. I would also like to point out, I have not visually seen an Ashe ultimate go out yet this game. It makes me very sad to say that. I just have not seen it at all. It just feels like they haven't had the opportunity to do anything. So for the Wranglers at this point, you're just kind of waiting maybe to go ahead and push a little bit more, or just wait till that 20-minute, get the Baron buff and close it out nice and neatly. Honestly, the world's your oyster.
Yep, totally. I will give Yomi credit. He did smoke Kiara with the Ashe arrow in the Drake fight. It did burn. That was what Kiara flash cleansed out of, or cleanse flash out of it, and then he kind of burned everyone alive after that. So the Ashe arrow, the accuracy is fine. Oh, just as I say that, cast curse, yeah. Amazing. But no, they're going, yeah, they don't have a lot of decisions to make anymore.
Nope.
This one is,
at this point, it's just okay, at what point do you think Wranglers are going to end the game? I guess that's the question. Like, how quickly do you think they're going to end the game?
Let's see, 20-minute Baron. I'd say, like, honestly, as early as 22 minutes. I think that's like probably, I think this is like a 1 Baron and done kind of area. That's the territory we're in. Again, like, it's on them to kind of throw. They get to make all the decisions. They have all the items. So if the shutdowns come through, maybe something happens. But
there it is. I was wondering about that. Decker, your shield ain't strong, bro. I'm so sorry to say so. Iska's got nowhere to run to. That's a dive in. That's a double kill. You said 22 minutes. I was going to say pre-20 minutes. That is a dive into the enemy base. They are keeping up with the kill a minute. And that is worrisome to say the least. Wranglers though looking and flying high. I
completely forgot about the Rift Herald. This might change things.
Yep. This is going to be a rush in. They could end this, by the way. That's charge number 1. You can easily get another charge if you wish, and they are gonna send it. You went the wrong way though. So you're gonna have to do a loop-de-loop. I don't think you're able to. Yeah, you crashed it into the wall, unfortunately. Outrage has taken down the bot side. We are now at a 16,000 gold lead. You're talking about a kill a minute, almost 1,000 gold lead per minute.
Yeah, no, that's a little bit wild. So Outrage is pushing side again. While this is happening, the team is sort of pulling out at this time, so it's important that he doesn't greed for this kind of tower. But yeah, all the items, all the plays are in favor of the Wranglers. They get to kind of play with their food a little bit, but yeah, like I just want to point out the advantage that on 14-13, the advantage that Misfortune has, and I'm very excited to see when players start to catch on to this. We are seeing a bit of life coming in from Iska, but unfortunately he's down a billion gold.
You can chase this, yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be the end of Iska for the 6th time, unfortunately. But no, this misfortune. Look at the items right now. It's such an attractive inventory. What's he missing? He did not go boots this game, right? Because that Bloodthirster shield is keeping his strut permanently up. They did rework strut. They did buff it a little bit, make it a little bit more quality of life for her. So she's just kind of zooming around the map, and she's mostly a stationary AD carry in a fight. So again, all she cares about is damage, and there's no shortage of damage in that build.
It's wild to me because if you took away the nameplates, you took away the champion, you just look at item builds, you'd almost think that was a Draven without number one, the score line, and number two, the item build. You're looking at the Bloodthirster into IE like that. We've seen Dravens do that before. It's wild. So they are going to start a 20-minute Baron. It was scouted out, by the way, by Yomi's Eagle. It ain't going to happen. Like, there's no amount of spotting. I like it. There you go. You take a look. 12,000 gold. You have straight up doubled your lane opponent's gold. That is so rough to see. At this point, Wranglers, they have everything they could ever want in the world. And they're going to go ahead and just keep themselves nice and pretty.
Yeah, and again, they have the Outrage teleport, they have the Stubby teleport, so there's no really surprise play that SGG can make. It has to be an overforce coming in from the Wranglers.
Kiора's pressing on their own! That is... Solo pushing as an ADC, bro. New meta.
Yeah, where's Adam during all this?
Oh. Adam's just wandering at this point. Look at this. Adam is straight up looking for a chance to fight.
Keep eyes on the Rel here, because she's got flash. She's gonna go for a game ender.
I mean, if you get a game ender here, that's great, but Alpha just trying not to give it. That tower's already down. You're at 21 minutes. Zach's in your base on the top side. If we can zoom out, that's great, but that's going to be the Glacial Prison going down. Arrow is bottled up. The Outrage is on a killing spree. Slicing Maelstrom into the backside. That's going to be the slam. This Zach jumps in for glory, and it's an ace in the blink of an eye. CGCW close out 24-1. They have effectively, efficiently, and dominantly closed out this series. SGG put up a fight, but it was nothing in the face of the 2-0.
Yep, absolutely nice. Really good season opener from Wranglers, coming in absolutely hot. They're going to feel really good with that season start. It's going to be on SGG to really sort of get to the drawing board on this one and figure out where did we go wrong, what sort of strategic decisions did we get to make, where did we go too far, where did we maybe not push hard enough, and what can we adjust to come in strong in the next week. Because again, like, drop one regular season game, it's not a big deal at all. So you can recover from this. It's important that they keep their heads held high. Figure out where you're dangerous on the Rift, right? Like, you don't have to carry through 3 lanes. You don't have to win everywhere. You just got to find where you're good at, right? Like, find what you're good at and find where on the map you want to attack. And as we're seeing the damage charts coming through, oh my God, Kiora is hitting 4 people at once, like every fight. So the damage charts are just not fair for anyone trying to keep up. But that's a lot.
I would like to point out Kiora's damage was almost was larger than the gold lead that they had. 21.3 thousand gold in the lead. 10 towers to 0, inhibitors to 0, Drakes, everything. If you are in this league, if you're in the Protectors League, Clown Gaming Crab Wranglers are a team to watch. Quite honestly, no other words to say it. However, Jordan, I got to ask you a fun question now, because we now saw 2 games where 1 member or 2 stepped up for the side of Clown Gaming. Who would you give an MVP to for the series?
Oh man, like you already know I've been hyping up the support and the jungler way too much, but Singular Bread just had such a stamp of an impact. He went everywhere and achieved everything. So I think despite Kiora doing all the damage, Singular Bread did all the strategy and made sure to set up like literally all 3 lanes for success. Like, he made appearances everywhere that were meaningful. Summoner spells blown. Like, he just knew his limits. He knew his limits, and he knew his value on where to be and what to do. And his plan worked better than SGG's, right? So again, like, you got to adapt. You got to see, what did they do well? What can we steal from them? Like, you can look at how did they kill us bot lane 100 times? Like, they have, what do they have? They have Nautilus. They had Sejuani. Like, these characters are not hard, right? Just pick them up. Like they're banning them on one side, right? We're seeing on SGG's side, both games we're seeing a very strong theme of You guys come into us, and then we respond. And the way they're playing is we want to aggress, which is completely not the way your champions are designed to do. So go pick up Leona, go pick up Sejuani, steal some of these really insane go buttons, and then you're just going to have a better time when you're deciding, okay, do we want to fight Grubs or do we want to fight Dragon? You have the option to do something, right? Like that's what you want. You want to be able to make certain decisions in the game, and SGG were taken out of the game way too fast, so it just wasn't working.
I mean, that's all down to Singular Bread. Singular Bread is a shot caller. We give him a lot of credit. However, you dominated in terms of strategic placement. First on the Sejuani, next on the Zach, Kiora, Adam, you get honorable mentions. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned into the Aegis Protectors League. And of course, we got more League over the weekend as well. And then week 2 of all regular leagues in the summer will continue on Monday. So thank you so much to everyone who tuned in. My name is Orbital. With me has been Jordan Butt. And of course, it has been Caddy in the production room. Thank you so much for tuning in and have a good night.